Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. I'm your host, Jacob Cooper, author of Life After Breath, The Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder, and the host of our channel. For those of you who are new to my channel, love having you. Just make sure you uh, consider to subscribe and hit that bell notification to be a part of a growing and thriving community here. For those of you who have been here before, we thank you for coming back. Today's segment's going to be a little bit of different. It's a bit of catching up and a little bit of, a teaching and inspiration that I certainly have to provide for you all. So we certainly have had, a great lineup of guests from different, professional backgrounds, different belief systems, and that brought us all, just different inspirational ideas. So I hope you enjoyed the interview segment that we've had here. But today is more so, just my own, coming here, to you to connect. First and foremost, we love the comment section. So if you have any particular comments or questions or any areas that you would like for myself to talk about, or any guests in mind that you feel would be a good fit for the channel and for your own interest, you can feel free to comment in the comment section, or you can email me through my email on my webpage and in the video description below. So today's topic is awakening. I have a lot of people who throw out the term awakening or feel like they are awakened, and so what does that mean? Well, in the English language, when you wake up, you're kind of like waking up from some type of dream, and that's an awakening. But the, real kind of interpretation, could be derived in many ways from Buddhist traditions where, people would view the Buddha as the enlightened one or the awakened one. And so it came through from a lot of different, Eastern belief systems, as well as, certain people throughout history who are viewed as prophets who are awakened, whether that be Moses or Jesus or Muhammad or whatever that have you, people are just kind of tuned into something, greater than this own reality. What does it really mean to be awakened? And is that something that is reserved, for just a select holy person that we view or someone throughout history that lived before this time? And maybe it's not for us. As a kid, one of my favorite stories, if you're familiar with it, and certainly one was those rare moments where I wasn't traumatized in high school or grade school by a test or something. I actually enjoyed English literature quite a bit and still read a lot of the Northern anthologies that I have from college and different stories. But one of my favorite literature, old English literature authors was Washington Irving. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Sleepy Hollow, all that kind of stuff. But he wrote a story called Rip Van Winkle, if you're not familiar with it. And this is a man who, just in short, took a nap under a tree, and he woke up and he found himself with his beard, down to the ground. And he walked around and he saw that the towns has changed and people around him, shifted. And it's just like, whoa, I just took a nap one day and all of a sudden, everything changed. And that could be, in many ways, a lot of people's life to a degree, where there's a lot of people who, maybe there was a point in time where they were connected to joy, or they just kind of were connected to their own spirit. And then all of a sudden, that part of them had this great slumber. There's a lot of allegories with all of the old English writers, particularly in Washington Irving's case. But for my takeaway is, a lot of us, might kind of go through life and we just have this slumber where we're living, but we're not really living and not really connected to our own, inner truth and core. And so when we wake up, we start to kind of notice, the changes around us and how we could see this world in a different way. And so I think for all of us, it's kind of like tapping into, it's like, where am I a little bit kind of sleeping on? Where am I not connected to? And how do I find ways to just tap into, that point so that I could look at the world in a more different way? Now, when we have an awakening, that could be a near death experience like I had, an out of body experience, whatever have you. That could be a shake-up period of the soul that you experience in your life that just, could contribute you to look at this world in a different way. But more importantly, taps into something that you, I believe, already have inside of you that you already know. But for a lot of people, they might not have had those transformative experiences. And so, how do you find ways to have your own awakening? without having, one of these experiences. I think the first step to it is to recognize you don't have to have um, an awakening or a transformative experience to be an awakened person. At our core, we're all have a part of us that's awakened. We all are infinite spiritual beings that have a divine spark in each and every one of us. And so that part of us, while we may be asleep, that part of us is always there. So I think the key is to really find ways to remove all those barriers and all those stories that get in the way of our own inner connectivity that we have inside of us. So there's many ways that we can do this, but one of the easiest accesses ways that I do is really learning how to connect. And by connect, I don't mean taking your phone and going on Wi-Fi and just seeing your own connection or the internet connection. I'm talking about your spirit connection. And it's very important to take an inventory with you know, how connected do you feel to a reality beyond, this one. It's so to me, that reality is always inside of us. And certainly when I had my NDE, I just remembered that part was inside of me. So to awaken really is about just making that shift from maybe being asleep or not as connected to life to waking up in this life and feeling alive while we're alive and to connecting to the force of life itself. And so I think it's important for people to really learn how to connect to that spark, how to build that. And we do that through a lot of joy as well as building enthusiasm. My earlier videos, I was very big on enthusiasm, but like I said, enthusiasm comes from that great Greek word entheos, which means just the inner God within. And so to really be enthusiastic, we're connecting to the divinity within. We're finding those things that align joy and our own connection to divine. When we're feeling joy, we're connecting to the divine. That's a parallel relationship. And so yes, meditation, getting quiet. The quieter we become, the more that we could listen and hear and see. While also really kind of really finding those things that you may enjoy in your life. And find those things here in this reality. For me, you could probably tell my own backgrounds. I love nature, and I've got a picture of a lighthouse and Sedona behind me. Those things bring me great joy. As does watching football. That brings me great joy. Going for walks and runs. But I think we all have our own unique engine. We have to kind of learn, what's inside of there and what does it really need. And so I think for each and every one of us is really to getting in touch with that engine and really kind of learning how that engine works. And and a guest that I interviewed today, Suzanne Giesemann, which I'll get into. Suzanne, spoke about the how we have kind of like the gas gauge where we have the empty and the full. And sometimes within of us, the analogy that you provide is we have the spirit part, we have the human part. Sometimes in our life we're too human, and sometimes we're too spiritual. So finding ways to be in between and really learning to know when we could recenter ourselves. So it's important to yes allow ourselves those human things and connect, while also finding ways to really make those things mundane and find the sacredness in the mundane. And so I think it's really learning to live with awareness, and by that I mean it's not so much what we're doing, but it's more so about connecting to our own being while we're doing. And so the next time you maybe do an activity, don't just focus on, okay, I'm just doing this routine activity. I've been to this park before. I've been to the stadium before. I know everything, and I'm in my own head, and I'm not really connected. So that connected life is really about finding ways to take in the senses, the five senses. Take in that smell around you. Look through your eyes. Look around you. Take in your own feelings, the emotions, and using your senses and really just kind of being in tune with the moment and recognizing how this is a unique window of this moment in time, that everything is in flux, everything is changing. And so I think the analogy that I have is you know everything is in flux. Sometimes in life when we're going through bad times we see it as just permanent, but it's just almost kind of like the sky and the clouds. It might be quite turbulent or quite thunderous or raining a lot, but you know, all those things are just temporary. They just run their course. So the key is in whatever we're doing, whether it's a negative or positive experience, just learn how to stick with it and to understand, everything comes to pass we'll also find ways to connect on a deeper level that goes beyond the surface. So if it's pain, we're not so much trapped by that emotion. If it's joy and we're connected, we're able to amplify that. But whatever we're doing, we're connecting to a greater reality, and we're able to generate, some of the hope past the pain, but recognize the impermanence of all that we're going through. And our relationship with impermanence is everything. We could look at it in life and we could take it for granted and just say, all right, I'm doing this and it's no big deal. It's just a routine. I do it every day. And, that next day may not come. And so I think learning impermanence is just saying, hey, this is a moment. There's nothing else that I know is for granted. And this is all that I have. And how do I want to live and experience and feel in this moment? Do I want to bypass it? Do I want to evade it? Or do I want to just say yes to this moment, no matter what it is, be engaged with it and accept and move through it, with connection? So I think it's really learning how to live that connected life that really allows us to really transcend our own life, and that's all a part of our own awakening, is to remember that yes, we have a part of us that goes beyond this reality, but also we're also using that part of us to transcend this reality, to really have things at one level, but to really experience a greater beauty in all that we encounter. And so, that is to me a part of being an awakened person. It's not so much climbing the mountain, that's the awakening, but what you do once you come back from the apex, and how what you're able to make of that experience, and how you're able to integrate that awareness in your everyday life. So, anyone can go up. It's when you come down, how do you find ways to really generate, all that ascension, in this lifetime? And so the question is do you need to have this, like I said before, do you need to have a transformative experience to be awakened, or do you need to have an awakening to be an awakened being? And the answer is no, because at our core, we all are enlightened, awakened beings. We just simply need to connect, tune to a different channel, and find ways to remember that there's a greater part beyond our own story, beyond our own experience. There's a greater reality, at hand beyond even this life. And we can do that. We could transcend all that we encounter. And so that is what it's about. And so we have to ask ourselves, do we want to exist or do we want to live? Do we want to just let this world just pass us and blink and then we're, gone from this? Or do you want to live with open eyes, open heart, and open mind in our experience, and really be tuned into this experience while we're here and living while we're living, and not asleep at the wheel, and to just kind of wake up from our slumber one day and just say, geez, where did time go? Want to be awake this entire time and take things in on a deeper level and be really a part of the experience. And so, many people are just kind of like stands in a football game and they're not really on the field. And so the key is to be on the field, to be connected. And sometimes life could be quite boring where we just get the handoff and we have 3, 4 yards, we have loss, there's no forward progress, and other times there's breakthroughs. But again, as I always say, staying in those field with awareness could allow us to have those moments where we transcend breakthrough and have beautiful experience. But we have to get on the field to enjoy it. We can't be in the clouds. We can't be, just always negative all the time. We have to find ways to be in the middle. And so in therapy, you know, wisdom is really where our emotional mind and rational mind meet in between. And so we all have a logical side, we all have an emotional side. And where that place meets in between, the river in between, is where our wisdom really lies. And so we've had to find ways to really balance those parts of ourselves while also remembering who we really are. That, again, that tenet of the awakening is that we are not this body, we're not, just this story, we're not just this lifetime. We experience all those things. And that is part of the awakening. We are able to remember who we really are. It's not just this actor in this play, not just, not really, I'm sorry, not attached to this role in this life, or this, but recognize we're just an actor in this play, playing the roles, but we're part of an eternal stage and theater of life, and we're just playing a temporary role here in this life to hopefully generate love, to generate healing, to generate hope, to make a difference by just being yourself. And part of that, way to also be that awakened being is just to remember that we are here to be you. There's so much of life that causes us to evade ourselves. Constantly we are programmed, we have to change, we have to lose weight, we have to stop being a child and become an adult. All these things are just bombarded at us in our own cultural consciousness, that we self abandon who we are. And no one can be you like you. And that's a part of the awakened way, where we all have a divine spark. Connecting to that spark is a unique vibration, a unique difference that only we can do and no one else can do. And so these are just some, small parts of this. And we'll have a much grander conversation about awakening and the awakened way with my next guest, not my next guest, but my guest coming in a couple of weeks here on the Wisdom Jacobs Ladder, Suzanne Giesenman, who's going to give a profound conversation, as well as talking about her brand new release, the book The Awakened Way. We'll be able to really dive deeper into the subject, but I really wanted to just touch upon the subject before our conversation, because I really think right now we're in the springtime, the flowers are blooming, at least here in the Northeast where I am. And, to me, the seasons represents, the awakening that we have. They're remembering that from, death, there is a rebirth. And from the decay of the winter, there's always a continual rebirth of season. It reminds us of the eternity of life. And so if you're asleep, if you're not really connected, it's okay to wake up. It's okay to rebirth. The seasons do it. Life does it. Sometimes we'll have moments where we feel asleep, and sometimes we'll come back and we'll awaken. We'll come up to the surface. And so, get in tune with your own nature too, just as the seasons do. And sometimes we have a harvest time we go within, but at the end of the day, we have to remember that we always are awakened. We just have to shed that out here in this lifetime, embody it here in this lifetime, tap into it. But there's a part of it that is always awake, even if we might be asleep. We just have to wake up on a human level and remember that part of ourselves, 'cause that part is always there. And that's all about coming back to yourself, going back to your pure form of who you really are. You're a divine, infinite, awakened being. And we just have to wake up of the story and get past our own box of limitation of our own identity and some of the barriers that cause us our own slumber and limited life experiences and limited connectivity to the life force that we have inside of us and around us. So I hope these messages help you out and hope you learned something from today. And let's stay in touch, and please keep in touch if there's anything that I can do to provide of content, to provide of value to all my viewers here. But I do want to thank you all for tuning in to my weekly conversations. Please make sure again you hit that subscribe button, bell notification icon, and do share, these videos, because we're living in a time where information is so vital and we're being bombarded with so much information. And my hope is this is a channel where we have tremendous information that really could uplift your days and give you terrific a different viewpoint on things that you maybe didn't have before, to really cause that shift in your life, in different vantage point. So I hope this helps. This is Jacob Cooper signing off here with you on the Wisdom Jacobs Ladder. Let's continue to climb up that ladder, and let's do so the awakened way, as my next guest in a couple weeks comes. But let's do so while we're awake and not just fall asleep on the ladder or come down the ladder. Let's continue to rise up as much as we can each and every day in each and every way. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Let's stay in touch here on the Wisdom Jacobs Ladder. Thank you.